Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex topics, cut through the noise, and, well, hand you the essential knowledge you need to be truly well-informed.
That's the goal.
Today, we're really diving into the turbulent waters of federal student loans. It's a system impacting millions of Americans.
Millions. Yeah.
And it's currently undergoing some of the most, dramatic shifts we've seen in decades. So our mission for you today is pretty clear. We're going to navigate this newly enacted One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Shine light on the, frankly, ongoing chaos within the current student loan management system.
Chaos is a good word for it sometimes.
And ultimately try to figure out what all these changes mean for you, the borrower, and, for taxpayers across the country.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Borrowers have been feeling a real sense of whiplash, I think, especially with federal policy just constantly changing since the pandemic started.
Right.
And amidst all this flux, clarity is just, well, it's paramount. What's really striking is how divided the perspectives are on these new changes.
How so?
Well, some folks view them as a necessary simplification, cutting through the red tape. But then others worry they could actually lead to borrowers being stuck in repayment for, well, even longer.
Okay, let's unpack this new landscape then, starting with the centerpiece, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed by President Trump July 4, 2025.
Yep.
And this isn't just like minor tweaking, is it? It sounds like a fundamental restructuring.
Oh, absolutely. It really is. The biggest shift is this dramatic reduction in repayment plan options. They're shrinking them way down from 7. Down to just 2.
Okay, just 2. So for new borrowers, people taking out loans starting July 1st, 2026, what are those 2 choices?
Right. So you'll basically face a binary choice. Either a standard fixed payment plan, think 10 to 25 years, pretty traditional, or the new Repayment Assistance Plan. Now, this one's income-driven.
Okay. Like the old IDR plans.
Sort of, yeah. It requires monthly payments of 1% to 10% of your discretionary income, but it can last for up to 30 years.
30 years.
30 years, and after that, any remaining loan balance is canceled.
And what about current borrowers, people already on plans like Save-E or Pay-A-V?
Yeah, that's crucial. If you're currently on one of the existing income-driven plans, Save-E, Pay-A-V, IBR, ICR, you need to know these are all being phased out.
Phased out completely.
That's the plan. You'll have until July 1st, 2028 to transition into one of the 2 new options.
Okay, so there's a deadline, July 1st, 2028.
Exactly.
Now, the White House, they frame this as an effort to, quote, condense a maze of loan options into 2. The idea being simplification and maybe better fiscal responsibility.
That's the stated goal, yes. Simplify a notoriously complex system for borrowers and maybe protect the taxpayer wallet a bit more. But, this simplification isn't universally cheered on. Isa Conchola-Banez from the Student Borrower Protection Center, for instance. She's raised concerns that this 30-year timeline on the new Repayment Assistance Plan could actually force some people into repayment for even longer than under some of the old plans.
Right. 30 years is a long time to be paying.
It really is. But then, conversely, you have someone like Sarah Reber at the Brookings Institution. She sees these clear binary options as, quote, a huge improvement from a policy design perspective.
Okay, so simpler is better from her point of view.
Yeah, arguing it cuts through the confusion of having, so many choices before. It really shows that tension, right, between simplifying the system overall and maybe losing some individual flexibility.
Interesting. Okay, beyond repayment plans, what else is in this act? I heard something about Pell Grants.
Yes, Pell Grants are also affected. The Act tightens eligibility, those federal grants, for lower-income students.
Tightens how?
It specifically targets students who already have full scholarships and also those coming from higher-income families. Makes it harder for them to qualify.
Okay. But wasn't there something else, like an expansion too?
There is, yeah. An interesting counterpoint. It simultaneously expands Pell Grant eligibility for short-term, high-quality workforce training programs.
Vocational training.
Exactly. The White House says this move is designed to support Americans who choose a career or technical education path for career advancement. So a real emphasis there.
Got it. And borrowing caps, are those changing?
Oh, yes. Big changes there. Significant new caps taking effect July 1st, 2026.
Like what?
Well, for parent PLUS loans, the ones parents take out for their kids, they'll now be restricted to $20,000 per year.
Per year, yeah.
And there's a total lifetime cap of $65,000.
And for grad students,
That's maybe the biggest change. Grad PLUS loans, they're being eliminated entirely for new students.
Eliminated. Wow. So what do grad students do?
They'll have to rely on the Direct Unsubsidized Loans, but those also have new caps, both annual and lifetime. For instance, professional degree students like law or medical, capped at $50,000 a year, $200,000 lifetime. Others face lower limits. The big picture is definitely a tightening of the federal money tap for grad school.
Okay, definitely tighter limits. And one more thing from the Act.
Deferments.
Hardship and unemployment.
Gone. The Act eliminates those specific economic hardship and unemployment deferment provisions, also effective July 1st, 2026.
So if you lose your job after that date, those specific federal ways to pause payments won't be there anymore.
That's right. The White House rationale is, again, streamlining the process and, quote, protecting students and taxpayers, reducing complexity and presumably long-term costs associated with those pauses.
Okay, so that's the map to the future laid out by the new Act.
Yeah.
But let's talk about right now, because it sounds like the present system is, well, chaotic.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Here's where it gets really critical for borrowers currently navigating the system. It is experiencing significant turmoil and dysfunction.
Tell me more. What kind of dysfunction?
Well, look at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. They put out a report back in November 2024. Pretty sobering.
What did it say?
It detailed over 18,000 consumer complaints and highlighted really common servicer failures. Things like inaccurate bills, incorrect amounts being debited. Yeah, sometimes for thousands of dollars. Payments not being applied correctly, and just huge delays, people waiting 9 months or more for refunds, sometimes big ones like $60,000.
8 months. That's incredible.
And the average disputed amount per borrower was over $14,000. That really shows the human impact here.
Definitely. And I've heard about these customer service doom loops.
Ugh, yes. Borrowers describe getting caught in them. Constant website problems, being endlessly shuffled between different loan servicers.
Being bounced around.
Exactly. And facing incredibly long waits for any kind of resolution, sometimes an average of 8 months just to get something fixed.
8 months. Wow.
And maybe most astounding, the Department of Education has actually temporarily suspended or even removed payment counts for IDR and PSLF from studentaid.gov.
Wait, remove the counts? So people can't see their progress towards forgiveness?
That's right. Mohella, one of the biggest servicers, even has an automated message explicitly linking this halt to ongoing system challenges.
That's hugely problematic, especially considering the IDR tracker that was launched just last year.
Exactly. The Biden administration launched that tracker in January 2025, specifically to bring clarity. But then it was, quote, quietly removed by the Trump administration last spring.
Why?
The department cited problems and inaccuracies. And while the current secretary, Linda McMahon, says she wants to restore it, borrowers are saying their data just isn't updating. It's like it's frozen.
So you can't even trust the numbers if they're there.
It creates enormous uncertainty. And on top of that, loan forgiveness itself under plans like Save, Payee, and ICR is currently paused.
Paused? Why?
Because of federal court rulings. The courts found these specific plans were not created by Congress.
Meaning they were created by the executive branch, not by law.
Precisely. Executive action making them vulnerable to legal challenges. And because of those injunctions, interest collection for saved borrowers actually resumed on August 1st, 2025.
Wow. So interest started piling up again for them.
Yep. Now, technically, the IBR plan income-based repayment forgiveness is still legally available because that one was created by Congress.
Okay, so IBR is different.
Legally, yes. But practically, it's still getting caught up in all these system-wide processing problems. So even if you're eligible under IBR, you might still face major delays.
Okay, let's talk practical impact. What does all this pausing and glitching mean on the ground?
It's immense. We're talking 8 million SAVE plan borrowers who are now stuck in involuntary forbearance.
8 million.
8 million. There's a staggering 1.5 million application backlog just for people trying to change their IDR plan.
1.5 million waiting.
Yeah. And the backlog for something called PSLF buyback, that's where people try to fix past payment errors for public service loan forgiveness, that's growing too. It jumped from 49,000 cases in May to over 58,000 in June 2025 alone.
It just keeps piling up.
It does. And if you want to connect the dots, many observers link these widespread issues directly to that mass RAF, the reduction in force, at the Department of Education back in March 2025.
The staff cuts.
Yeah. Nearly 50% of staff were cut. including crucially specialized teams whose whole job was to resolve complex errors, like those PSLF transfer issues.
So they cut the people needed to fix the problems.
It certainly looks like it exacerbated things. It's hard to fix systemic problems when you've significantly reduced critical personnel.
Okay. So we've seen the new laws coming. We've seen the immediate chaos. But digging deeper, what's really causing all this persistent turmoil? Is it just bad luck or bad management?
Well, it's likely more complex than that. Jason Delisle from the Urban Institute, he's argued for a while that the federal loan program itself has just become incredibly complex, especially with all the different IDR and PSLF programs layered on top of each other over the years.
So the rules themselves are part of the problem.
That's what his research suggests. His 2019 study was fascinating. It found that over a third of the complaints borrowers made weren't actually about servicer errors per se.
Oh, what were they about?
They were about the actual terms and rules of the loan programs, rules the servicers don't even set, which suggests a big chunk of the frustration comes from the inherent complexity baked into the system, not just how it's administered.
That's a really critical distinction. It's not just the servicers messing up, it's the game itself being too complicated.
Exactly. And add to that what you mentioned earlier, the enormous uncertainty and instability from frequent rule changes.
Right, like the HEROES Act, forgiveness attempt, the Savvy Plan rollout.
Yeah, all those big initiatives often rolled out on short timelines. They required the servicers in the department to constantly scramble, develop entirely new processes.
Which naturally leads to more mistakes and delays.
Precisely. The system just couldn't keep pace with the constant policy shifts. It creates a breeding ground for errors.
So it raises that big question, accountability. When things go wrong on this scale, who's ultimately responsible?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The CFPB has been pretty clear. They're urging that borrowers should be held harmless when these systemic errors occur.
Meaning, it shouldn't cost the borrower if the system messes up.
Right. And that the loan servicers must be held accountable for their performance failures, especially given the sheer volume of complaints we've seen.
Okay, so for you, the listener, the borrower, caught in the middle of all this, what can you actually do right now to protect yourself?
This is really important practical advice. The National Consumer Law Center, the NCLC, and also the D.C. Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, they've issued a pretty urgent warning.
What's the warning?
They're telling borrowers to immediately save or screenshot critical records.
What kind of records?
Your payment history, any proof of forgiveness progress you can find on studentaid.gov or your servicer site. Everything.
Why? Just in case.
Exactly. Because if this information disappears or gets changed later due to system issues, having your own records makes it significantly easier to track your actual progress and, crucially, dispute any errors down the line. Think of it as your personal, essential digital paper trail.
Good advice. Save everything. Okay, looking beyond immediate self-protection. Are there ideas for fixing the system itself, systemic reforms?
Yes, there are definitely proposals out there. The Urban Institute, for example, they've put forward several ideas aimed squarely at tackling that deep-seated complexity we talked about.
Such as?
Streamlining things dramatically, like moving to just one income-driven repayment plan and one default fixed payment plan, period.
Just two, like the new act, but maybe designed differently.
Potentially, yeah. But crucially, they suggest enshrining these in statute, by law, and importantly, eliminating the Secretary of Education's broad power to just create new plans administratively whenever they want.
So taking that power away to prevent constant changes.
Exactly. The idea is to bring stability. They also suggest things like tying loan forgiveness to total time in repayment rather than trying to count every single qualifying payment, which gets incredibly messy.
That sounds simpler.
It does. And maybe even eliminating forbearance and deferment altogether and just using income-based repayment if people need to postpone payments due to hardship.
As your payment just drops to zero if your income is zero.
Pretty much. And then there are even more sort of radical ideas floated.
Like what?
Things like eliminating interest entirely and just charging a one-time origination fee up front.
Wow, no interest.
Or even collecting loan payments directly through the federal income tax system, like via tax withholding.
Through your paycheck.
Yeah, which could potentially eliminate the need for loan servicers and all those annual income certifications entirely. A complete overhaul.
Those are definitely big ideas.
Yeah.
So, wrapping this up, where does the current administration stand? What's their stated focus now?
Well, as the Trump administration moves forward, the Department of Education's stated focus remains pretty consistent with the new act. strengthening the student loan portfolio and simplifying repayment to better serve borrowers. And they've really underscored their commitment to protecting taxpayers by urging borrowers still on those plans that were not created by Congress, like SAVE, Payee, ICR, to transition to a legally compliant repayment plan, specifically mentioning IBR.
So a clear push towards plans explicitly approved by Congress, aligning with that more fiscally conservative approach.
Exactly. It highlights that move towards a system defined more by Congress, less by executive action, aiming for simplification and perceived fiscal responsibility.
So after this deep dive, what really stands out to you about this whole situation? It's clearly a system in massive flux.
Yeah, flux is the word. I think the core tension is really stark, isn't it? It's this constant pull between trying to simplify what became an unbelievably complex system for clarity, for fiscal reasons, versus ensuring there's still robust support and, clear, flexible pathways for every individual borrower whose situations can vary so much.
Finding that balance seems incredibly difficult.
It really does. How do you make it simple without making it too rigid?
Right. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. As the federal student loan system appears to be shifting, moving towards this more congressionally defined, streamlined, maybe more fiscally conservative approach, what are the trade-offs? How might that balance between greater simplicity, perhaps benefiting taxpayers overall, versus potential rigidity for individual borrowers? How might that ultimately shape access to higher education and maybe even future financial well-being in America?
That's the big question, isn't it? What does that future look like?
Something to think about until our next deep dive.